This is the pilot. What I mean is this is the pilot episode of this MiG-3 build series. It is also the first video of my new channel called Scale Machina. I am Alex Školarac. Welcome. Soviet Union, late 1930s. Artyom Mikoyan and Mikhail Gurievich both work for the same boss. His name is Nikolai Polikarpov, and he is the head of the Aeronautical Design Bureau of the same name. He also has a reputation of being the king of fighter planes of this era. Mikoyan is good in organization and leadership, whereas his friend Gurievich is a brilliant aeronautical designer. So their skills are complementary. In October of 1939, Polikarpov travels to Germany, at the time friendly nation, with aeronautical delegation of Soviet Union to study German aviation design. In his absence, back in Zavod 1 near Moscow, a sort of a coup is taking place. Gaining support of the VVS leadership and omnipresent party commissars, Mikoyan and Gurievich are forming new experimental design division, taking over Polikarpov's Project X, and along with it, about 40% of Polikarpov's skilled mechanics. Ouch. Project X is about developing new and advanced high-altitude interceptor plane, coded at the time I-200, later becoming MiG-1, and finally evolving into a MiG-3, first operational MiG warplane. And so starts the saga of the MiG. I hope you won't mind skipping explicit and wanton scenes of cutting plastic parts off the sprues of this old kit. Certainly you've seen already this Trumpeter kit in and outside of the box. Perhaps you have it in your stash for a number of years, just like me. So why not just get rid of the box and start with something interesting? I will be backdating late type from the box into an early type MiG-3. Most of the differences are concentrated around engine cowling and the upper deck in front of the cockpit, but there are some other details scattered around the airframe. Let's take a closer look on some of these differences. The upper nose section of the late type MiG-3 has only two panels, forward and rear. The same section on the early type is broken down into 5 panels. Long gun barrel tunnels of the late type extend all the way onto the aft section in front of the cockpit. This is not so on the early type. Here we see only 2 blisters where the gun muzzles emerge from the cowling. And in the back there is additional pair of small teardrop blisters. Leading edge slots were installed on the late type, but not on the early MiG-3. There were many more subtypes and field modifications, but what you see here on the right is what you more or less get in Trumpeter's kit, and on the left is the type I want to build. Don't forget, plastic parts have only finite thickness. Before I started cutting this cowling, I used 2-component epoxy to fill in these gun tunnels from the inside and prevent it having holes in the material after I was finished. It is a good idea to refresh some of the panel lines that could otherwise get lost with all the work getting done around the cowling. Here I am doing that with my needle tool. For straight panel lines, old and dull scalpel blade is really useful. It doesn't cut the plastic, it just depresses it to create a groove. I made this one even more blunt by running it across some coarse sandpaper, and then I keep it separately for this purpose so that I don't mix it with my new blades. After the groove is established, thin micro saw can follow to finish the panel line. Quick release locks on this cowling are another exclusive feature of the late type MiG, so they need to go. I'm flooding them here with beads of superglue to sand them smooth when cured. Half an hour is enough for the glue to be dry enough for sanding, but not completely hardened. If you leave it till the morning, it will be much harder to sand. Not needed rows of rivets and imperfections on the surface of the cowling can be also filled with superglue. It seems I missed additional 2 small bumps on the upper cowling. Clear images of early MiG-3 are as common as unicorns. But if you look long enough, you will find these details, and once you see them, you cannot unsee them. So I guess next I'll be making these. These small teardrops cast in clear resin are meant as nav lights of different shapes and sizes. I used them for blisters on the rear panel and will use them here once again. I just need to cut the selected pieces from the bunch. Easier said than done. Black superglue is easy to spot, so any unwanted spills or seams can be cleaned after curing using debonder. Can you believe it? I barely can. The upper nose section is complete and ready for some priming. Even the best primer won't stick to oily or dirty surface. Don't be lazy. Prior to painting, clean the parts with rubbing alcohol. Old school guy that I am, I'll choose Mr. Surfacer over anything else for priming. Black or white variety have their tactical uses in some cases, but most of the time Mr. Grey is my partner in crime. Not too bad, like rendered in a 3D software. Let's now move on to the side cowling panels. I don't know about you, but for me this long nose makes for a really elegant profile of this flying machine. Prominent oil cooler ducts on both sides of the cowling make for a very unique and complex look. All this is represented really well in Trumpeter's kit. There's one problem though. Inside the oil cooler ducts there is nothing. That means scratch building. Luckily it is not difficult to fabricate the heat exchangers from some basic modeling materials. I used short lengths of brass tubing, a piece of metal mesh and copper wire. I am sorry for not showing you the actual process of me building these, but when I tried to film it, the camera was out of focus and I noticed it too late. It's really not difficult. Cut desired length of cylinders from brass tubing and sand the ends smooth. Trim a piece of mesh using scissors so that it's a tad bigger than the diameter of the pipe and glue it using superglue to one end of the cylinder. After the glue has cured, trim it to the exact dimensions. Then wrap a piece of wire around the pin until a perfect ring is formed. Cut the ring out and position it so that it forms a rim on top of the mesh. Fix it again with superglue. After some more curing time, place a sheet of sandpaper on the table and lay your heat exchanger face down flat and slowly sand until there is only a shallow edge left around the perimeter. Voila! The oil cooler is finished. Rinse and repeat. I finished both ends of the cylinders so that I can choose to orient the better side towards the front, but this is not necessary. Can you spot the difference between two fuselage sides? I'll give you a hint. On the starboard side, I modified the fairing for the exhaust manifold. On the port side, it is still as given in the kit for the late type MiG. To create, one needs to destroy first. So this is what I did with the fairing for the starboard exhaust manifold. Using basic styrene stock, I closed off excess length in front and the back of exhaust opening. Then I added a short fairing at the front end made of plastic pipe, cutting and sanding it to the desired shape. This is the exhaust shroud of the late type MiG. I thinned all the edges because we are building an aircraft, not a tank. And this brings me to my dilemma. Should I leave it as such? A field modification maybe? This would bring more interest and character to the model, I feel. It is a plausible change after all, considering the amount of tweaks and adjustments done while in service. There is though no photographic evidence of a particular plane with dissimilar exhaust shrouds. So it is the case of putting creative freedom in front of historic accuracy. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I want to modify one more detail before calling the work done on the whole engine cowling section, namely this trailing flap on the oil cooler duct. I will replace it with the photo-etched parts from this set and also use the opportunity to remove small triangular fins from the top and bottom edge because these were not present on the early type MiG. This flap has a compound shape, curved at the front and almost flat at the other end. The instructions would have you to simply make two sharp bends along the horizontal grooves provided on the photo-etched piece. But, as I soon found out, this task will not go as advertised. In life, as in jazz, some improvisation is required. First video is done. To be perfectly honest, filming and editing this material took more time than working on the model. I'm sure this will improve as my workflow gets better, but for now this is it. I am doing this in real time, which means what you've seen here is how far I got with the model at the time of publishing. Next time I'll be working on the cockpit and some more details of the fuselage and that pilot from the beginning. Until that time, love and peace.